Hi, this is Richard Fairgray, creator of Blastosaurus, on the Critical Thinking Podcast, where we are thinking shit through one podcast at a time.
Okay, my bad. I put 76 instead of 75.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Dumbass! Oh my god, that was freaking hilarious. I'm looking like, this woman goes, hello. I'm like, hello. I said, you're not Richard. I said, I apologize. I think we got the wrong click. Wow, okay. Thanks for letting me explain and say I'm sorry.
So my only real knowledge of Game of Thrones is that there was a king, or like a child king, that everyone hated. Is that right?
He was Targaryen. He was Daenerys' dad. He was.
Yes, he was. When he was going to die, I was living in New Zealand at the time, and the fans. I assume it was fans. Maybe it was an official HBO thing, but I doubt it. They put up a statue of him being hanged. And they were going to, celebrate the episode by, stringing him up in the town square, basically. And it coincided with either Prince William or Prince Harry visiting the country.
Oh, my God.
Just kind of perfect.
Wow. Hey, what episode is this, Rick?
I don't know.
This might be 124.
The greatest episode ever recorded.
Nice. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Get ready and strap in. It's an upcoming creators episode.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Critical Thinking Podcast. I'm your host, Rick the Rizzo, along with my co-host,
Sean, the Irishman, and our other co-host,
the Mig1, and for you humans, Miguelis Majesticus.
And this is a critical look at all things TV, movies, video games,
and upcoming creators.
I can buy up the mall cause I got hella bang, bang. I can ball every day cause I got hella bang, bang. You got a window shop cause you got no bang, bang. And you can't get no pussy cause you got no bang.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Mig1 here, sitting alongside the Rizzo. We don't know what episode this is because Sean won't tell us. But it's going to be a new and great one. I don't know. It'll probably come out sometime next
probably
week.
124 is going to be the Comic Paloozas.
All that craziness that we did?
Yeah.
That was a lot of craziness, by the way.
Yeah.
So we have a special guest today, and we don't mean special like in DTD. We mean special in like a pretty cool dude.
I can be both.
Nice. Our special guy here today is Mr. Richard Fairgray. Did I say that correctly, sir?
Yes, you did.
Did I leave off the Sir Richard Fair? There we go. You've been knighted.
I don't think I'm ever going to achieve that level of honor. But I'm happy to be called sir.
Well, are you older than us? We don't know.
I don't know. How old are you?
I'm the oldest. I sit here at 47.
Okay. I'm 34.
Okay.
So.
You're younger than both of us here.
There you go. So you're a young man. All right. Good job. So, Richard, you were brought to our attention by our good buddy Seek. We've been friends with Seek for a long time, ever since I was on a different podcast. Seek has been so cool with us. The fact that when he did his book, Soulstar, he actually had my sons. They actually drew characters from Soulstar, and they got to be put in the comic. And then he had my son's art class get involved with it. So we've always been a big fan of Seek, and we always appreciate everything he does. So when he told us about you and how he loves you and you're his favorite artist of all time, I said, okay, we definitely got to get you on.
Well, that's a lot of talking up he did. I hope I can live up to that.
Well, so far you're failing. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
You're doing it.
Oh, that was nice. It was just like my mother.
I'm your daddy. But anyway, so we want to tell all our listeners about who you are. We wanted you to give you a chance to talk about yourself as well and tell us about your book and everything you got going out. Sadly, I went to my comic book store to get my free comic of your book, and he didn't have any. I was like, what the heck? So I'm still on the search. So we're kind of in the dark. So we're going to go with whatever you have to tell us and stuff like that. But we have plenty of questions in regards to everything else. So people, our fans and everybody else, our listeners, get a chance to figure out who you are and actually follow you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Richard Fairgray. I'm a comic creator originally from New Zealand. I moved to the U.S. about a year and a half ago. And before you ask, the reason I had no accent is because I had a very unhealthy relationship with a dialect coach through most of my 20s. I am completely blind in one eye and can stick things into it, but that's more of a visual trick, so it doesn't work super well on a podcast. And then my other eye has 3% of what a normal eye should be able to see. So I just spend my entire day, like, giving myself a back problem hunched over a desk.
Wow.
And I have 219 published comics at this point. Very few of them have ever come out in the U.S. because, as I say, I just moved here recently. But my main book, the one that Seek would have told you about, is Blastosaurus, which is a story about a crime-fighting mutant Triceratops.
Interesting.
That's what I'm talking about.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So, okay. Oh, yeah, well, let's talk about a little bit about you real quick. Yes, you were born in New Zealand, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And then you moved here about a year ago, you said. So pretty much all your comics are overseas, New Zealand, England, that type of area?
Yeah, I did the whole, those two countries are literally 30 hours apart, but I did the whole New Zealand comic thing for years. Like, I started publishing when I was 7, and, my first book, made money for me, and I suddenly was like, oh, I'm a 7-year-old who has $400. I'm going to go buy a lot of Power Rangers and make comics forever, because clearly this is the key to incredible wealth. And so then I just kind of kept doing that all of the time, and then I was 31, and I was at this convention, and my booth was like 60 feet long and 20 feet deep, and I had a staff of 10, and we had a video game of, we had 2 video games based on, like phone games, not like serious real video games, and they were terrible video games, by the way. They were like Blastosaurus waiting in line at a bank, and ghosts flying through an old folks' home scaring old people to death so you could get more friends. And I had a Blastosaurus action figure, and I looked around, and I was like, I can't do anything else. Like, I'm going to do exactly this at exactly this level for the rest of my life. So the next day, I went straight from the convention to the airport and moved here with a big plastic crate with 12 pairs of shoes and a plastic skeleton and 6 T-shirts and all my money, and lived on someone's couch for a week, and then in my office that I got for a month, and just kind of flailed around until everything worked out.
Very nice. Yeah, I saw you stated you had been writing one since you were 3, and then I saw that you were published at 7, so that's pretty cool. But 219 published comics, wow. So is it safe to say in New Zealand you're like a celebrity there?
No, because it's still comic books.
Yeah, it is true. Well, do people recognize you? Do they come up, real, like the comic book people, it's like, oh, can I have your autograph? Can I have your signature?
In a comic book store, yes. At a convention, yes. Outside of that, no. I think the closest to being really famous in New Zealand that I ever got was that someone drew a picture of me as a zombie for a poster that was all over the country for some big Halloween event. And it was just definitely me. Like, I had the one wonky little eye, it had my beard that I had at the time. It was like a very specific look. And for a minute, I was recognized as the zombie from the poster. And then for a while, there were photographs of me in a burger chain in Australia, riding a camel. So when I was in Australia, people would sort of stare at me confused occasionally, and I'd have to say, yeah, you've seen me ride a camel at Burger Fuel. And they'd kind of nod slowly and back away.
I know you're illustrator of comics, but you also do children's books as well?
Yeah. So about, 5 or 6 years ago, I started making children's books. I got really mad one day because my local bookstore no longer stocked any of my favorite books, because everything they had was like wrapped in plastic like Laura Palmer. It was like gift books with toys attached, and it bothered me because I really liked, when I was a kid, going to bookstores and rifling through things. And so on a whim, I made a picture book, and with absolutely no plan. Like, I wrote through, like, everything was ready to go to print within 3 days, and we just printed like 4,000 copies and then flailed around until we found a distributor, and it just kind of it worked, basically. Like, I did something that worked. And so I've got 11 kids' books now, and it's one of those things where I'd like to do more of them, but comics kind of occupy every single minute of my life.
I understand.
So, do you do your own artwork on your comics?
Yeah. I co-write Blastosaurus with Paul Eiding from Metal Gear Solid and Ben 10 and Transformers and all that stuff.
Wow.
Blastosaurus actually ran as a comic in New Zealand for like a decade before I moved out here. And my plan had been to shut down everything that I was doing with Blasto and just spend my first year here just kind of meeting people and talking about comics and coming up with new things and just do something different. And then it was my first day here when I was incredibly jet lagged. I wandered into Golden Apple Comics here in LA and had a conversation that I don't remember because of the jet lag, where they told me they were starting to publish and they'd heard about me from a mutual friend and they asked to see some stuff. And apparently I walked out of there with a publishing deal. Apparently what had happened was they said they offered to reprint all of the New Zealand content, and I very foolishly said, that sounds really boring. What if I just made new stuff for you? And they sort of smiled and nodded and said, sure, if you want. And so Paul and I had been friends for a few years, and we'd kind of talked about working together. And so I brought him on as the co-writer, because, you know, he knows kids TV. He knows that world. He knows that tone. And he's been very good at he's kind of a sounding board for me when I'm going off in crazy directions with their story, and he occasionally just says, maybe we should bring it back to, you know, not being a long-form exploration of Blasto being sad because he lives in a laundromat. And so he's incredibly valuable for that. But then I do all of the art and all of the color and everything is all me.
Wow. I want to definitely talk more about the comic, but I was tripped out earlier when I saw that you were staying in a Hollywood studio with two other people, your vicious cat, a dog, and a ghost.
Yeah, so fortunately the dog and one of the people have now left because they were not paying rent and kind of the worst. But the best part about having them there was that the ghost hated them. My dream in life is to be a ghost one day, so, you know, I'm excited to be around, you know, any ghosts.
Yeah.
And of course it's Hollywood, and so, like, all the people who have died here with unfinished business, it's mostly that people didn't give them enough attention. So the ghosts here are really demonstrative. So you get to see them a lot and interact with them a lot. So we have this ghost who, if you're staring at a doorway, an open doorway, at 2 a.m. in my house, no matter which room you're in, you will just see a grayish figure standing in the doorway. And every now and again you can kind of make out his face, and every now and again he opens his mouth, but you can't ever hear him. And I know that he is a friendly ghost because I have a real pet peeve about anyone putting anything on my table, because my table is for me to draw on. If it gets dented or scratched, it's going to create problems for me with the paper. So I don't like anything on my table. And this person who had the dog who used to live there would always leave her phone on my table. I would tell her not to, and she'd always put things up. And the ghost took my side, and I was so grateful because it got to the point where she would put anytime she put anything on any table in the house, even if she put it in the middle of the table, 10 seconds after she put it down, it would just fly off onto the floor.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
He hated her so much. He would also, anytime she was alone in the house, all of the doors and windows would suddenly get unlocked and opened.
Wow.
He just wanted her gone.
It's time to go.
All right, Ghost Whisperer, that's what we're going to call you now.
It's funny, Richard.
I haven't seen him for a couple of months. I was in my room was right at the front of the house, and we live in, like, I think it's kind of a nice neighborhood, but, like, I'm going to put it this way. I have 2 new knives since I moved there because people have reached in my window and dropped them while trying to randomly stab at things.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's fine. But so I was in my room, and I look up, and it's not even it's not even 2 a.m., and the ghost is just in my doorway, and he's, like, beckoning me to follow him. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I get up and follow the ghost, and he leads me all the way through the house to the back where the recording studio is. And he just stands there and stares at me. And so we're just in this, like, quiet little place at the back of the house. And then I just hear all these gunshots and all this screaming. And then it all stops, and the ghost disappears, and I go back to my room. I don't know what happened. I don't know what was going on, but I know that the ghost decided something really bad is going to happen out the front of the house. Be there. He kindly led me into the studio. And he's right, because, like, I'm stupid enough that if I heard screaming and gunshots, I would immediately, like, open my window and be like, hey, what's going on?
I got you. That's wow.
That's more than a ghost. I think that's like your guardian angel.
Yeah, I'm really worried their house is going to get demolished soon, and then I don't know what he'll do.
I don't know. Might follow you.
Yeah, I know. It could happen.
Fingers crossed.
Interesting, Richard. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, though, when we're done with this conversation. I'll drop it here right now anyway. We have someone that has a podcast. It's on paranormal stuff. And she does a lot of stuff and goes to haunted places and everything else. I'm going to hook you up with her when we're done, so she knows who you are and give you a call.
Oh, great.
You might be able to go on her show and talk about that and everything else and give you a little bit more exposure there. Blastosaurus. You're writing it. This is what the Kickstarter's for? Not the Kickstarter. What am I looking at? The Patreon, right? Is that what am I looking at?
Oh, yeah. I have a Patreon. I have very mixed feelings on Patreon. I really like the idea of, like, supporting people and giving to artists and all of that. But I feel like there's a weird thing with Patreon, and I got invited to one of those, like, Patreon events where they tell you how to be better at using Patreon, and the whole thing was like, you've got to make your fans feel like they're your friend.
Yeah, I got you. Have we done a Patreon before?
We have a Patreon, but we haven't made any tiers yet for it because we don't know how we want to do our tiers for it.
It's just a whole weird situation. I understand that. That's pretty cool. Basically, we're going to talk to you about Blastosaurus, and who is actually then, who's behind you? I mean, is it Dark Horse? Are we talking like DC, Marvel? I mean, Image? I mean, what are we looking at? Who's the guy behind you?
So, the publisher for the American edition of Blasto is Golden Apple Books. So, Golden Apple Comics are a store in LA. They're like one of the original comic book stores that have been around for 40 years. And they have this like iconic store on Melrose where Stan Lee was regularly there, and it's the place where I can't remember his name. The guy who Frank Darabont like walked in being like, I need to know what I can use to create a TV show with, and they gave him The Walking Dead and said like, turn this into something. Like it's a place that's kind of done everything. And Ryan Leibowitz, who runs the place, he was looking around thinking like, all these people come in here for like inspiration for making TV shows and making amazing stuff. Why aren't we putting out content of our own? And so they launched this publishing company with kind of with the idea that they would create comics, but also pitch stuff as TV shows and that kind of stuff. So they're interested in things that can be developed beyond just comics. And without I'm aware of it. Blastosaurus has a kind of like Ninja Turtles type of vibe to it, or a kind of Gravity Falls type of feel to it. So it seemed like a natural fit for them. And they had another book called Adventure Van, which was just a 5-issue, standalone story about a guy in an interdimensional van. And then they had one other book which was kind of previewed and didn't kind of end up happening. And Blasto was kind of brought on at the end because they were happy with what they had. They weren't looking for anything new. They met me. They thought we have to do something with Blasto. And then it ended up being the first book that came out. And then it ended up being the monthly title. And then it ended up being the thing they were really pushing. And then we got into Free Comic Book Day. And then we were suddenly everywhere. And so, they're new. They're new to publishing. They know the comic book world, but it's like everything we do is kind of like it's a brand new experience, and we're all just kind of learning as we go. So it's a lot of I'm going to say fun, but it's a lot of stress.
Cool. Have you been approached by anybody else to do anything for them yet? Have the American people, the American companies or artists or anybody else other than Seek, have they discovered you yet, and have they reached out to you to do other stuff?
Yeah, so I'm working on, I actually just finished work on a new, the first book for a new series with a company called Pixel and Ink, who there's a company called Trustbridge Media, and they've just launched a publishing wing, and they approached me last October, and they wouldn't tell me anything about what they were doing. Everything was sort of top secret, and I was going to be in New York for my honeymoon and they heard about that, so they asked me to come in for a meeting, and I was like, well, that sounds romantic. And all I was told was, think series. So I go in, and they say, all right, basically we're launching a publishing company that's going to do comics, graphic novels, picture books, novels, and anything else we can come up with along the way. We thought of you because of Blasto, and one of their editors had worked with me before. And they said, do you have any ongoing series? We're only interested in things that could work as like at least 100 stories. And I said, well, I have this thing I've been working on for about 18 months. And I started on this whole pitch that I was making up as I went along. I used to spend my summers as a kid at this haunted lighthouse. And so I started just rattling off stories of spooky stuff that had happened to me and pretending like it was some fictional thing that I've been working on really, really hard in my spare time. And so they bought it. And then
Nice.
they actually bought it. And so I kind of made a slight error. Here's the thing. You should always read contracts. I pitched the idea of doing 3 64-page books, and that would be to start, and we'd see how it went. And they came back to me with an offer for 2 books, and I thought, okay, that's fine. And like the page rate was what I'd asked for and everything, so it was all fine. I was a little disappointed. Maybe they didn't have quite as much faith in me to tell that many stories or whatever. So I signed the thing, and then the editor said, are you sure you can get the first book done in time? And I said, yeah, it's like 4 months to do a 64-page book. That's easy. And she said, no, it's 4 months to do a 200-page book. We want 2 books that each contain 3 64-page stories. Did you not read that part?
Oh my God.
So, and this is I'm writing on my own, drawing and coloring the whole thing. So from January 3rd to April 30th, I essentially lived in my office. I bought a blanket. I bought a pillow. I ordered all of my food online. I got a deal on 24,000 adult premium body wipes so that I wouldn't have to go home and shower. They started giving me a chemical burn after like a week. It was a nasty scene, but I got it done. And that it officially got announced in Publishers Weekly a couple of weeks ago, and it advertised in our Free Comic Book Day issue of Blasto, but it won't be out until May 5th next year. It's called Black Sand Beach. I should actually promote the title.
Black what, sir?
Honest, Black Sand Beach.
Black Sand Beach, okay.
A lot of the beaches on the west coast of New Zealand have really high iron content in the sand, and so the sand is really black and also slightly magnetic, and so I decided to like really play with the weirdness of that.
Nice. So you go out with a magnet, you could. Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
You can pick up the sand. If you have a strong enough magnet, you can kind of like move it around on the sand and kind of draw pictures on top of it. And obviously, because it's a kid's comic, I'm going to like have a whole lot of weird stuff where they get like magnetic gloves and can like make the sand move, and they'll fight the bad guys, and there's a haunted lighthouse, and there's aliens, and there's these creatures which I'm genuinely worried are too scary for a kid's book, that are like the body of a starving child with turtle hands and green fur, and then a horse's head and glowing eyes and just a huge mouth across their stomach.
I already like it. It's got a horse head. You got me.
And they're only ever referred to as not being cows. We never say what they are. They're just not cows.
Not cows.
Listen, I know that you write all these children's books. Have you thought about expanding to the older generation?
Yes. I'm not going to say I started doing stuff for older people because I was 7, but like when I finished high school and I first started thinking maybe I could do this whole comic thing, seriously, I was in art school, so I did a lot of like very serious art school style graphic novels about people who have like subversive versions of superhero powers and all of the absolute obvious cliche stuff that an 18-year-old does. But I've been doing kid stuff for like pretty exclusively in terms of what's being published for about 10 years. And in the background, I've been making a lot of other comics and never really had a place to put them. And as of last week, I've just launched a new Facebook page and a new website as a way of just having a way to keep that stuff separate. So now I'm, like, on Facebook, I'm Blastosaurus, and I'm Richard Fairgray, children's author, but I'm also Richard Sucks with an X, because that's how you should spell sucks if you're graffitiing something somewhere. And that's where I'm now putting all of my, like, adult content that I'm slowly wheeling out.
Very nice. Wow. So tell us a little bit more about Blasto. Tell us a little bit more. So everything, obviously you had the stuff in New Zealand, and that's out there, so you're writing all new stuff. How much has been dropped so far? Has the first one dropped yet? When will it drop, if it hasn't?
So we launched out here August last year with issue 1, and we did monthly for 6 months, and we've got 2 collected volumes. All of this is available through Diamond. It's everywhere. And then we did the free comic book day issue. Because of Black Sand Beach and because of a couple of other projects that I'm not actually allowed to talk about yet.
Okay.
It was meant to continue as kind of we were meant to do 2 3-issue stories this year, and I've just had to say I can't do that much drawing. So instead this year we're doing a summer special that comes out in July, which is about I haven't kind of really explained this, but Blasto is about these 2 kids named Richard and Tabitha, who find out that there's a dinosaur in their town. They live in this place called Freakout City where every weird thing is kind of possible. And they're really excited because knowing a dinosaur would obviously lead to better adventures. And so they track him down, and of course it turns out to just be a guy in one of those inflatable dinosaur suits. And they're incredibly disappointed. But then a robot attacks and kills the dinosaur, rips him apart, rips his head off, and reveals that inside the suit, this humanoid triceratops bursts out and tears the robot apart and saves the kids, and then they follow him back to the laundromat where he lives. And they're like, okay, well, we'll keep your secret, but we're definitely going to hang out with you and have awesome adventures. And so then it's just every month we tell a new kind of ridiculous adventure. One of the underlying principles of Freakout City is that it's closer to the edge of impossibility than other places. There's a whole big mysterious thing, which I won't give away, but as a side effect of time travel, just to really blow the lid on that, Freakout City has all of these pieces of a magic stone that are literally clusters of possibilities from infinite dimensions that are the universe buckling in on itself to heal itself when an object leaves the time stream. This city is littered with them, and it means that anything is possible anytime. Obviously that's real science, because I'm very scientific, but I also just made it up. But it just means that we can do whatever we want. Like in issue 2, they drop 2 meatballs on the ground while they're eating spaghetti and meatballs. And just by chance, the 2 meatballs come to life, and they grow arms and legs, and they're so excited to be in the world and to see each other, and they start running toward each other, all happening underneath the table as Blasto gets up to take the plate out to wash them, and he steps on one of them and kills it. And the other one just screams about revenge and all of this, usual vengeance stuff. Obviously eats the remains of his brother because it's delicious meatball meat, and then goes around the town eating all of the spaghetti and meatballs he possibly can to grow big enough to come back and attack and attempt to kill Blastosaurus. So it's like, whatever we want to do, we can do with this.
That's freaking awesome. I can actually see that. That's the funny part about it. That's pretty cool. So Diamond, and you have 2 full volumes of this already out then.
Yeah, so the second volume came out May 1st. And then May 4th was the free comic book day issue, and a lot of people do reprints and things. We did a whole new issue because it was May 4th actually marked the 1-year anniversary of the first time we put out anything in the U.S. For Blasto. So we did the 1-year Dinoversary, and it's a surprise party for Blastosaurus as all of the weirdos and freaks from Freakout City, many of which we've never seen in any of the other comics, because in 6 issues we've only covered his first 4 days in town. So there's just hundreds of people there at this party, all telling stories about all different weird things that Blastosaurus has helped them with. And it was fun because we got to introduce these new villains called the Swampires, who are just hillbilly vampires who live in a swamp. and this potato that just went really bad and like grew its roots into the eyes and nose of this guy and used him as the evil potato puppet. And my actual favorite villain, a guy who flies a fart-powered hovercraft. He calls himself the Crop Duster.
That's awesome. Oh my god. Okay, I'm definitely have to go out there and buy these 2 volumes. This sounds freaking awesome.
We did our 3rd issue was just my loving tribute to KFC, and like I know a lot of your listeners are going to say like KFC is garbage food, and in America you are correct. KFC is terrible here, but I'm from New Zealand and I have traveled the world and I have tasted KFC in every other place that I've ever been, and in many countries KFC is like a complex, delicate flavored chicken that I've never had anything that compares to it. And I went to Australia last year for a writers' festival, and when I got there, I said to them, the festival organizers were putting me up in the hotel and everything, and I said, look, where's the nearest KFC? And they're like, just go and unpack first. We'll get you some KFC later. Don't worry. I'm like, no, I need to know immediately where the nearest KFC is, because I'm going to go and get them. And they wouldn't answer me, so I got on my phone and walked 2 miles, and which turned out to not be the nearest KFC. There was a much closer one, but that's a whole other thing. I come back with 20 pieces of chicken, and I'm just eating it on the way, and I get up to my room, I open the door, and they'd read online about how much I love KFC, and they'd already bought me 20 pieces of chicken. And so I had 40 pieces that night, and it was just like, it was beautiful. And the thing is, I had 89 pieces in the 9 days that I was there, and I lost weight. So I call it the Kentucky Fried Cleanse. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's such, if you are ever, and now, so I don't want to get too nerdy on KFC here, but basically they changed the recipe before the Colonel died. He disavowed any connection to the brand when they did this. The rest of the world didn't, but they did change their breading method to make it cheaper. And then in 1993, I think, they switched back to the original breading method, which is a milk and egg based breading, and it absorbs the flavor more. And honestly, it'll change your life. Like, my mouth is watering even talking about it.
Interesting you say that stuff, though, because I did hear something about when the Colonel and all the stuff you just mentioned. I have heard of that, believe it or not. KFC is
Canada have just switched back to the milk and egg thing, and that's, by the way, I take full credit for that, because I had KFC in Canada. So my husband lives in Canada, and I split my time between LA and there. And for our wedding last year, we had KFC cater it, and I was expecting mediocre KFC, and then it turned out to be mind-blowingly good KFC because it was such a large order. They decided it was a chance for them to experiment with going back to the original breading method to see if this like customer base that didn't know they were being secretly focus grouped would like it. And everyone did. And so now they're slowly rolling out the good KFC breading in Canada.
Nice.
Wow.
I like to feel like I've made a difference in the world, you know. So we did this issue that was like a whole tribute to KFC. And it's like there's this planet called Chicken because everything on it is chicken. You know, like people are chickens, the cows are chickens, the trees are chickens. The chickens are the most chicken thing of all. They have nothing except chickens on this planet. And this fast food restaurant, we never specifically named, but who have red and white stripes, set up a drive-through outpost on their moon for weary travelers and you know, irresponsible parents like my own who don't know how to feed their children healthily to stop by and pick up some fried chicken on the way home, and they just used the planet as a farm. And of course the planet had no defense, because even if they had weapons, the weapons would have just been chickens, because that's literally all there is there. So the smartest of the chickens invented a hat that could disguise him as anything, so he could try and take down the Colonel and his evil fried chicken empire and save the whole place. But I'm not gonna reveal how it all plays out. But
oh my god, that is freaking awesome.
Like when I get fixated on something, I'm just like, you know what, we're doing a KFC issue. Like right now we're in the middle of writing our Halloween special, and I'm like, you know what, we're going to do a parody of Scooby-Doo and a parody of Saved by the Bell at the same time, and we're also going to do it as a Trapped in a Mall episode because they're my favorite episodes of any TV show, and we're going to call it I'm So Excited, I'm So Scared, and it's going to be amazing. And Paul just kind of stays real silent for a while and then sort of sighs and says, okay.
That's freaking awesome, man. You know what? You remind me so much of another guy that I know, another artist, writer, Brown. He does. Oh my God, I'm having a bad day today. I slept way too freaking much. But he has strange creatures too. He has cow people and tiger people, and they're all fighting, and there's ghosts, and it's just freaking hilarious. And they're just. I mean, there's like unicorns, and the husband gets cut in half, and it's a freaking funny world. It really is. It's just out there, and that's what you're kind of making me feel like here. And he's very popular, so I'm assuming you're going to get there too as well here in the States. That's like, freaking awesome.
I certainly hope so. You know, I mean, my only interest is always, you know, because I live in Hollywood. There's always this question from people of like, are you doing this to get a TV show? Are you doing this to get a movie? And my answer is always like, I mean, fine. I'm not going to say no to those things if someone wanted to do it, but like, I love comics. Comics are the end goal for me. I started doing this so that I could keep doing this. And so like, I just want to make the best possible comic I can and make every single kind of comic I possibly can.
All right, cool. I noticed it said you're an animator. Is that like cartoon drawing, like an actual like cartoon for like TV?
It's one of these things where people, if you do something once, people will put it in every bio they write of you forever.
Uh-huh.
They're like, I did stand-up comedy when I was in high school, and people still ask me if I'm a stand-up comedian. Like, no, absolutely not. I did a bunch of, like, I sort of taught myself to animate last year. One of our children's books was this feminist reimagining of Pierre by Maurice Sendak. And it was called Sweet Penny and the Lion, and it's about a little girl who's so well behaved that she gets eaten by a lion. And we teamed up with Jill Sobule and recorded it as a song for kids. And then I did. We were going to have an animated music video of the whole book, and our animator flaked on us kind of at the last minute. And I sort of looked at it. And I was like, I don't know how to animate, but I bet if I just did everything as a watercolor, I could like make a really messy, choppy looking thing. And so I ended up doing, it was 51,000 watercolor drawings to make a 7-minute music video, all done with lots of tiny pieces. It's not available anywhere because then our publisher kind of buried the book. It's a whole other story.
Man.
Don't do a feminist children's book if you're with a kids book publisher who you don't know are super, super right-wing and conservative, because they will just bury it. I learned my lesson. Figure out which company you're with. Play to their strength.
Definitely.
Well, the gentleman I was talking about was Ryan Brown. He does God Hates Astronauts. So if you ever pick up a book...
I love that.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine with me on Facebook and stuff like that. And we interviewed him before. Like I said, before I was with Rick and them, I was on a comic book podcast that we did for many years, and so I got to meet a lot of people. And so I was just actually right now, while Rick was talking to you, I was texting my friend who works for DC. I don't know if you know Steve Orlando.
No, he's one of those like we have mutual friends. He shows up in things I'm in conversations with him, but I don't know him.
Yeah, he does. He writes the Martian Manhunter. He's pretty much doing a lot of stuff now for DC. But he started off doing Undertow, which was his Aquaman type story, which is amazing. It's a 6-book thing. And then he did a few other things. He did a thing called Virgil, which is it's a book. It's a long book. What do you call it? Hardback, whatever. It was really amazing. He does a lot of stuff. He's a really good guy. I was just hitting him up real quick, trying to see if I can get you any kind of leads or any kind of things like that. Cause, we always want to help people out. And Richard, you seem like one hell of a guy, and if Seek's vouching for you, then that definitely tells me you're one hell of a guy. So,
thank you. I mean, like one of my big things is people. They always ask, like, you guys will have definitely had this. People say to you, like, what would you do if you could write a Batman movie or a Batman comic? And I don't have an answer. I want to make every kind of comic, but I kind of have. I have every interest in the world in creating new things and writing new things. And I've never had any desire, like I've literally in my life never applied for a job. I've never submitted anything to anyone. I've kind of just made enough stuff that people have come to me and said, "Can you keep making stuff?" And it's like I have no problem with like the idea of writing other people's characters. It's just never kind of been my focus, which may be a huge mistake.
I see.
Like I said, I don't know how much pull I have, but I'm trying to reach out to people who might be able to reach into you and talk to you about stuff. I don't know. I think
anything is always great. Like this is one of these industries where there are, there are 100 of us all kind of just scrambling to make things, and it's also like almost all of my friends out here are musicians. I keep looking around, being like, I want to talk about comic books with someone. Where are the comic book people?
Apparently, I think most of them in New York.
Yeah, I mean I chose Hollywood because one of my best friends lived here. It probably was not the smartest move for my career, but I just love this town so much. It's got the exact right level of crazy for me.
All right.
Yeah, ghosts and whatnot.
Free knives.
Free knives.
2 free knives so far.
What are you, freaking South Central? What are you at?
No, I'm literally I'm right in the center of Hollywood. Like it's just that the whole area is kind of being developed, and as I say, my house is going to get demolished soon. So there's a lot of people who are being just displaced from their homes with no real warning. And there's this guy who I'm not going to say he was like the most stable dude before, because one time so someone was at our house in the recording studio, and they were like, "Can you walk me out to the car? I'm not super comfortable because of the guy across the street." So this person got walked out to their car, and everyone was like, "No, look, that dude across the street's just doing push-ups. He's just a weirdo doing push-ups in his front yard." And then he just stood up, stared at us, walked over to the side of his house, took a knife out of the back of his pants, and started stabbing the wall. We're like, what are you doing? Okay, you're just a crazy person. But then he got kicked out, and he started showing up. My nickname for him is Old Screamy, because he screams a lot, but kind of at 2 or 3 in the morning, he'll just be out in the street screaming. And it was him who one night, my room is right at the front of the place, and there's bars on the windows, so that I always feel safe. So I leave the window completely open because it's hot. I'm lying in bed, and I look over, and there's just this arm reaching into the window, waving this knife around, and then it drops the knife, and it's reaching around, patting the floor, trying to find the knife. And I'm thinking, right by the window, there is a $50 bottle of whiskey and a $3 bottle of wine. And he finds the wine and leaves. And I'm like, yes, free knife, and I didn't lose my whiskey. It was just, it just felt like, everything's coming up Millhouse.
Hey, Lisa. That's freaking awesome. Richard, I'm going to tell you right now, we're very impressed with you. I mean, everything you've gone through, and then having the one dead eye, like you said, and then 3% legally blind. And I'm like, Jesus. The fact that you're also drawing, writing, and doing it all yourself is amazing. I'm assuming hopefully down the road, when you get a little bit more successful, you're going to just maybe stick to writing and let someone else draw for you? Kind of ease up your schedule a little bit?
I just don't think I could. I don't know what to do with myself when I'm not working. I finished that ridiculous book a week and a half ago, and I had to do all this catch-up stuff and do a bunch of covers and variant covers and all these things. But I'm sort of finding, I'm looking at the clock, I'm like, okay, so it's 10 o'clock at night. I finished. I guess I could walk home, but I know I'm going to be awake for another 5 hours, so maybe I start something new. Or I feel really, it feels weird not working. I get to my office at 7 a.m. I don't like to leave before midnight.
Wow.
That's dedication, man. He's a young man.
I really like this job.
Yeah.
I get to draw dinosaurs every day, and I'm I like writing more, but drawing is kind of fun. You get to look at a page and be like, look, I finished that. I finished 3 of them today.
Nice. Well, I was going to say, I was like, well, we should do rapid fire with you, but I'm all I don't know if we're going to get that much answers with these rapid fire questions, favorite movie, or do you watch movies, or
doesn't sound like
you get a chance to do any of this stuff.
Well, the thing is, I can't really stand silence, so I have movies or TV shows playing kind of constantly while I work, or just a lot of grunge from the 90s. But usually movies or TV, often really bad ones. I did just finish watching all of Dawson's Creek, and it made me really mad.
I'd have been mad starting it. Now, why did you do that to yourself?
I was trying to write a thing that was kind of, I wanted like hit that note of teen drama for a thing I'm working on, and I was like, I'm going to watch Dawson's Creek, and then I'm like, well, I have to watch all of it just to see how it ends. It is garbage. It is, and the morals of that show that like it keeps reinforcing whoever the first person is you fall in love with, that is who you should be with forever. I think that's really unhealthy to tell people in high school.
Definitely.
So he should go back and watch 90210, Melrose Place.
Yeah, they're all on the list. I've done One Tree Hill, Dawson's Creek. I also watched all of Friends for the first time in about a week and a half. Oh. God, that show is.
And you wonder how these made it, you know?
It's just a bunch of very privileged people living very easy lives.
My friend, go turn on Supernatural. Go watch Supernatural.
I don't know if I can. I watch Gilmore Girls, and I really hate the guy from Gilmore Girls. Like, hate his character on Gilmore Girls. I don't think I can handle seeing him in something else. I'm aware it's a different character, but, like, if your haircut looks like a butt, it's not a good start.
Which one was in Gilmore Girls?
Dean,
that's right.
I think it was Dean. Yeah.
No, it's okay, man. Trust me. In Supernatural, he's a badass. Dean's a badass.
Okay.
It's the first couple of seasons are kind of dark, and then they go a different way with it, and they get kind of jokey a little bit here and there, but it's still kind of dark, and they got the running gags. It just finished his last season here, and it's not last season. Finished in the second. They got one more season left, and that's it. That'll be season 15, I think. It has a massive cult following. I love the show. I've been watching it since it first came out. My father's the one that got me onto it. I missed the first 2 episodes. My dad goes, "Did you see this show?" I said, "No, you need to watch it." I was like, "Oh my God, the show is awesome."
All right. It's there on Netflix for me. I'll do it. I do like spooky things, obviously.
Yeah, if you don't have a problem with you're definitely going to get, it's going to take your beliefs if, depending on how religious you are, it'll mess with your beliefs a little bit because they go beyond and everything else. And, it's angels and demons and gods and the nothing, pretty much is what I like to call it. And Leviathans. And yeah, they take it pretty, there's always got to be a bigger bad,
Okay. All right. I'll add it to my list. So how does the rapid fire work?
Well, it's just, like I said, we just asked you favorite movie. Like you said, you were doing...
Then I'd have like a really easy answer, and I'd just like throw it out there.
Yeah.
Just like immediately.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Since you've been here in America now for a year, who is your favorite American artist?
Courtney Love.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Go ahead, Rick. You're going too slow.
Do you play video games?
No.
Huh.
Not since Alex Kidd in Miracle World.
Golly, that's way back in the day.
Wow.
That's back in Nintendo.
Marvel
never finished it.
Marvel or DC?
DC.
Movie-wise, Marvel or DC?
Neither.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Batman or Superman?
I tried to watch Incredible Hulk. So I was like, I'm going to catch up. I'll watch all these Marvel movies. And so I started on Incredible Hulk, and I was like, Edward Norton's getting a haircut from Liv Tyler. Like, I'm done. I'm gonna sit these 22 films out.
Being that you said DC, Batman or Superman?
Superman.
What? Oh my God!
It's like the optimism, the eternal optimism. I find adorable, and also like Bizarro is straight up my favorite character in any comic book.
That was going to be my next question.
So, like, he's just adorable. I try not to like own any stuff now because, like, moving here with just a plastic skeleton and some shoes, I got very used to having nothing. So like, but I used to have every single physical representation of Bizarro that had ever been created. I had one, and it was a little much.
Some of that might be worth some serious money.
Yes, I know, and I gave all of it away.
Oh, man.
Well, I moved here with 4 days' notice, and I was doing a comic convention, so every single book I sold that weekend came with a free personal item.
Damn, where was I
at? Well, we know you love KFC, but what other favorite food?
Buffalo wings, or there's a candy that's not available here, but it's called Zombie Chews, and if you can get the raspberry lemonade flavor of it, oh god, it's so good. I have my father came to visit me last year, and he bought me 700 of them, and I have none left.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
They will make your tongue bleed.
No way. Why is that?
They're very chewy, but they're very sour, and the way they break is kind of sharp, and so you don't realize it. Actually, I was eating some the sour Skittles are one of my other favorites, and they discontinued them in New Zealand, and I was really bummed out. I was on my first trip here, and I was in New York, and the middle of winter, and they had sour Skittles. So I bought some on a street corner, and I ate the whole pack. And then at the next street corner, I bought another pack and ate the whole thing. And then I had like 5 packs of sour Skittles. I was just chewing away and like enjoying the sour, and it's just like in heaven. And then this random stranger, and you got to remember, this is like New York, where you don't talk to random strangers. Like that's not a thing they do. It's not like a big friendly come give me a hug city. And this person comes up and says, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great. Why?" And they're like, "You're bleeding a lot." And it was so cold that I couldn't feel that my tongue was just blood was just pouring out of it and freezing on my chin.
Oh my god. Zombie!
No regrets.
You lucky they didn't put you down. Here's one for you. Which artist, okay, not artist, what writer now would you dream to work with?
That is tough. You know what I'm going to say? Tom Taylor and I are halfway through writing a children's book together, and we keep not finishing it. So I would like to finish that.
Gotcha.
Oh, now I'm stumped.
Any artist here in the U.S. that you, they don't have to be U.S., I mean, they're here obviously to draw, but any artist here that you admire the way they draw? Because earlier you said you like Ryan Brown's book, God Hates Astronauts, but what artist?
I haven't read the book. I've only seen pictures from it, and
okay.
I love the title, so I've been wanting to check that out. I really like Ryan Sook. I think his work is beautiful. I think that for years, J.H. Williams was like my favorite artist because I thought his work in the early days of Promethea was like mind-blowingly good. Gene Ha is great. Bill Sienkiewicz is great. It's all the obvious ones. I like pretty pictures. I also like weird, badly drawn, messy stuff. There was this woman who I've met a couple of times at conventions, and I'm blanking on her name right now, but she does this just angry punk comic called Demon Ditch from Hell, and I like how angry it is. And outside of the U.S., I would say like Ender and Neville does cool comics, just incredibly cool comics that I'm jealous of, and Theo McDonald and Robin Keneally. They're my top. No one here will have heard of them, but look them up.
I will do that. One of my favorite ones, you probably heard of him. I don't know if he would be on your list to work with, Ben Templesmith.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, his stuff's cool. I
love his stuff. I fell in love with, what was the name of the book? The guy that was fighting the demons. And he would die all the time and have to come back. Every time he died, you get to see his wife.
What is that called? Actually, I can't remember the name of the artist, but you know whose art I loved, and I didn't enjoy the book very much.
I was $10,000. That's the book I was thinking of. $10,000 with Michael J. Kosinski. There was
a modern, like recent Bizarro comic, and I thought the artist on that had like a very cool, very fun style. I really liked that kind of finding that really weird limit between incredibly cartoony and still looking like a mainstream comic book.
I hear you. There's been some interesting, a lot of people, I was told, before I used to say that the comic book could stand for me if the story was good. If I looked at the art and I thought it was shitty, like they just didn't give a damn and just threw it on there. But like you said, the abstract art, the comic, and it's kind of is way different and everything else. And it's really appealing, to me. And I've gotten attached to it now. So it's kind of weird. It's weird you said that earlier. Oh, I know I was going to tell you. Xander Cannon is another guy. He does Kaiju Max.
Yeah, I know Xander.
Yeah, he is freaking amazing. I've talked to him before, and I love Kaiju Max. And so when you start talking about Blastosaurus and dinosaurs, I'm like, oh, hell, I'm in. Because both my son and myself, we're huge fans of dinosaurs and stuff. We have all the Kaiju Max stuff, and we have tons of Godzilla stuff. Hence, we're good
Xander
friends
is
with
one
Matt
of the
Frank.
Nicest people. Xander is one of the nicest people I've ever met. Back in 2010, I was at Comic-Con, and I was with a publisher who turned out to be just just everything was terrible about them. And they they kind of almost stopped Blastosaurus from ever happening because of the way they just misprinted it and screwed everything up. And I was all alone. I was a blind 25-year-old in America, and I no longer had a hotel room because they'd randomly decided to just cancel it because they didn't want to be there anymore. So I had to share a hotel room with this wrestler who then stole my Starro action figure. It was the whole thing. But so I was very down, and I went to the bar and I met Vander Cannon, and he was like, "You can just hang out with us, Ty, because you sound like you're having a terrible time." And I didn't know him, and he just bought me a drink, and we talked about comics, and he was absolutely great.
Yeah, Xander is freaking awesome. I can't say, I've had the pleasure of meeting talking to Xander, meeting Steve Orlando, talking to Joshua Williamson, hanging out with Greg Capullo, which by far is probably one of the funniest freaking guys I've ever met in my entire life for Batman. I didn't get to meet Scott Snyder because we were just seconds away from him. But I've been fortunate enough that I've been blessed to meet a lot of comic book artists and writers and some really cool guys. The really cool guys would just sit down and just BS with you, normal people, and just have drinks with you. So it's really cool to hear you talk about how Xander was really cool and nice to you. That's awesome.
Just a straight up good guy. Also, Jill Thompson. I forget to mention her because I never think of her comic book art. I think of her just beautiful watercolor painting. But Jill Thompson is one of my favorite artists. I would love to work with her one day.
We have other friends who own their own comic book stores in Atlanta and other places too. I'll reach out to them and see if they. Sorry about that, Rick. See if they can possibly carry Blastoids or carry anything else you plan on releasing down the road. I don't know how it works, but I'll do some reaching out. I'll pass out your name and number and stuff like that, if that's fine with you.
That would be absolutely great.
All right. Well, this is getting towards the end here, so this is going to be whatever you want to pitch. Anything you got coming out, anything you want to pitch. Or,
anything that's already out that you want people to buy. Obviously, like I said, myself and probably Rick eventually, we're going to go on a diamond here, maybe in order the 2 novels that you have out of Blastosaurus. And I'm actually super excited now for this Black Sand Beach thing. Matter of fact, when it comes out, I may contact you and say, hey, I want to buy one from you. I'd like you to sign it, and I'll send you the money or whatever you need to mail it to me.
Well, I'm 100% on board for that. So many of the things I've got happening I can't talk about. But if you are over the age of 18 and listening to this, then please go to richardsucks.com. That's SUX.com. Or check out Richard Sucks on Facebook. If you are not over 18, then please go to the Blastosaurus Facebook page where we put up a lot of content there. There is an entire free issue on there as well, which isn't reprinted anywhere else, and is sold out at the publisher have completely sold out of that now. So the only place to see it is online. Check out Black Sand Beach next May when it comes out. And that, I'm on Twitter as Blastosaurus. I'm on Instagram as Blastosaurus. And I post incessantly with all the drawings I'm doing.
Here's the next question I'll ask you, Richard, real quick. And it's not in regards to you. It's just about your stuff. Do you have a problem with myself or Sean taking stuff off of your pages, like from Instagram or your Facebook, and using them and tweeting out about it and putting it on our Facebook pages and multiple pages?
Absolutely go for it. Absolutely go for it. I kind of, in the same way as with Patreon, I have tiers, but everyone gets everything. I don't like this hierarchy of who owns what. I make stuff and I put it out into the world, and I make stuff fast enough that I love the idea of things being shared. I make stuff to be seen.
Being that you're in California, will you ever travel to any other cons outside of California?
Yeah, I'm heading to a thing this weekend in New York, and as I say, I spend a lot of time up in Canada, so anything sort of up near there, I'm pretty excited to go to. I go where I'm told. The Golden Apple are very good at just...
Is that New York Comic Con?
No, it's the Queers and Comics Expo. It's just a bunch of talks from Phil Jimenez and Paige Braddock and people like that, and they've got me going out there and doing a signing. But I'll go anywhere. I think I'm in Arizona in a couple of weeks, but I honestly have no idea what for. I just got told the 23rd I'm going to Arizona. So if there's a con happening there, then come see me. So yeah, like I usually get about 3 days notice that I'm going to be at a con, and then I get told what time to arrive at Golden Apple to be driven there, wherever it may end up being.
Well, that's cool. If you ever get sent to a con here in Texas, whether it be San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, Austin, anywhere within that range, I mean, that we can make it to you, we will definitely be glad to drive down and meet you, because usually we get press passes to these cons, so we get in free. And we go down and we do a lot of interviews, a lot of podcasts, a lot of stuff like that. So that's what we do.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, I'll let you know. I mean, I saw your photos from Comic Palooza this weekend. It looks like a really great show.
Oh, we just like having fun with our people. I mean, these guys here, my cousin and Sean and Kyle, who's no longer with us, but he kind of joins in a little bit here once in a while. They brought me in and they picked me up, and I was in a bad place for a while, but since then we've made huge strides. And we have a lot of listeners, so I'm hoping that we're able to somehow help you along the road. I mean, that's what we want to do. We like helping people. Thank you so much. And we appreciate you coming on. And again, like I said, for the listeners, you guys know Seek from me. So if Seek has endorsed Mr. Richard here, then he's the real deal. So that's what I'm saying. And you'll be seeing tweets from us coming out there. Basically, I'm going to be calling you the real deal. And then that's your nickname for me. And we'll go from there, and we'll see what the hell we can do for you. And if not, when it comes time and you're ready to unload your new stuff, or your new stuff is coming out and it's coming out, please hit me up way in advance so I can make sure I book you and we have you so you can come on maybe the day after or the day it comes out, or I don't want you to, or whenever you can talk about it. Yeah, so, we get you on early and more enough time to get promotion.
I love that I get to do a podcast where I get to say shit. The amount of times where, I swear terribly, and the amount of my life I have to keep thinking, nope, talking to children, can't swear, parents get mad.
I was censored this weekend at Comic Palooza. They know who I am. So I was said, you got to keep it PG-13 because you guys are going on during Kids Day. I'm like, what the heck? Why would you do that? You know who I am. What is wrong with you people? But no, on this podcast, you can say whatever the hell you wanted to. If you wanted to drop a couple F-bombs, you're more than welcome to.
I mean, I feel like it would be unnatural now, but I've got a friend who's like one of those, woo-woo spiritual people, and she always tells me, put shit out to the universe, and I ignore her. But she's done me a really solid favor by introducing me to the weirdest sculpture park in the world right now, so I'm suddenly taking her seriously. These sculptures, these oversized cowboys and a Sasquatch and Abe Lincoln with a woman's face that were made in the 50s and then transported from Burbank to somewhere out in Woodland Hills, and they're hidden in the woods. It's so creepy. Anyway, so I'm suddenly taking her seriously. She says put things out to the universe. So I'm just going to say this. I want to design album covers. I've never done it. Technically that's not true. I did tribute album to Gareb Shamus. They approached me and got me to do the cover for that. But that doesn't count because it's a joke, and I think one copy sold. I want to do album covers one day.
Album covers, nice.
I want to draw something that's basically a square. I'm tired of these rectangles.
So I started listening. I was going to say something else in regards to, little advice as well. Also, whenever you go to tag anything, or if you do anything on Twitter, if you do anything on social media, like Facebook, if you just do the @Critical Thinking, if you follow us on Facebook, Critical Thinking Podcast, if you do the @critic_, is it Critical Thinking Podcast or critic? I'm not getting confused. No, it's Critical Thinking Podcast. If you do the whenever you do any postings on Facebook, it'll tag us and we'll see it so we can share and like it. Or you can do the @Mig1 Talks Crap. That's my Facebook page. Just like it sounds, MIG, the number 1 Talks Crap. And you can, you tag that and we'll see it. We'll be able to share with everything else. Whenever you do any photos, anything on Twitter, if you tag critic_thinking or @podcaster MG, that's us as well. And we can do some more stuff with that. So same thing on Instagram. You'll find us on Instagram as well. If you tag us, it'll help us see your stuff more, and we can definitely tweet it out and get it more shares.
Okay. Excellent. I can do all of those things. When do you think this episode will go out?
Well, we got 2 other episodes before this one because there was the Comic Palooza one. So this one probably won't go out till probably next week because I think he's dropping 2 this week.
So next Thursday.
It should be next Thursday.
Awesome. Okay. I was just going to say, I'll make sure I share it everywhere I possibly can.
Oh, we will. It'll be on all podcatcher apps, whether iTunes, Podbean. It's on everything. It's on Beyond the Dawn Radio. It's on a bunch of other places. So it'll get circulated a lot. I'll also going to tell you, when we're done, I'll hit you up real quick. If there's anything you want to send us that we can do, like giveaways for the fans or anybody who may want to win something like this, like I can do a Periscope the next time and offer somebody a free gift or something you send us. And, we can do that as well. Kind of get you out a little bit more to people that way also.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I can, we sold out the free comic book day. We had 50,000 copies were ordered, and it then oversold through Diamond, so they're out of them. But I know that the publisher has a big old stack because they want to have plenty to give out for the year. So I'll put you in touch with them, and they can send you a pile of the free comic book day issue if you like.
Sounds good, Richard. We appreciate that, and we will definitely do those. I should have asked you before we went to Comic Palooza, but I didn't think about it. But definitely, I think we may be heading to another con down the road, so we would definitely like to take those with us. Awesome.
That would be absolutely fantastic.
All right. Well, it's nice having you on.
Yeah, Richard, we really enjoyed it and glad you were able to, come on. You seem like a great guy. Seek, like I said, Seek paid you a lot of compliments, so that, you hold up to it. I was joking with you earlier. We wish you the best of success. And again, we hope to have you on again, and please feel free. You don't have to just come on to talk. If you want to come on and talk just to BS about whatever, feel free to reach out. Our sponsor comes on whenever he wants to and just talks with us, and we have random people that just come on the show. So it doesn't matter. If you just feel like, hey, I'm listening to you guys, I heard it, I want to like to come on and BS with you guys and talk about the ghost or talk about whatever, or this other knife or some crazy stuff that you saw. Feel free. We always take anything. We're open to our guests and our friends.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
All right.
Well, Richard, you have a nice evening. We appreciate you having on.
You too.
All right. You have a good one.
Bye.
I can see it all from here, falling away.
All right, guys, as you might now know, or you may well know here soon, that's Mr. Richard Fairgray, and he's going to be releasing Black Sand Beach here May 5, 2020. Richard Fairgray, been writing forever, and has a ton of comics, and a lot of kids' books, and a lot of everything else. And you can go on Diamond and get the Blastoid novels that are out there. So he's got 2 big books already, which is probably, 6 comics per book. You know how you buy when you want to buy I forget what you call it, not the consignment ones, but you call it, the pack, when you put all 6 together, that's what it's pretty much what it is. Great guy. And he was very, very highly talked about from Seek. And Seek, who did Soul Star and everything, he's out there in California too. So, come on, it sounds funny. It sounds amazing. It sounds like it's the same genre as Xander Cannon or, my man over there, with, God Saves Astronauts. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to read it. He was a good guy. I was very impressed. The fact that the gentleman can't see in one eye and has 3% in one is just amazing to me.
To make the artwork work.
Yeah. And continue since he was 7. Dude, he's been writing and he's writing, drawing, and everything else. He's doing it all. It kind of reminds us of the guy from Advent Comics.
Yeah.
He does everything by himself too. That's somebody who I would like to get him in touch with. Good people like this are hard to come by, man. You meet somebody like this. He reminds me a lot of time back in the day when I met the great Steve Orlando when he was still doing
comics.
Yeah, indie comics, and now he's like the shit at DC. I'm just saying, this is what I get the feeling from Richard. I get the feeling from next time we talk to Richard down the road, maybe a year from now, whatever, he's going to be somewhere. Yeah. And he's going to be somebody, and we'll be able to say, he's buddies with us.
Yeah.
Even though we're just lowly Mexicans and cholos and wolos here in Rosenberg, Texas. So, guys, that was our episode. I think it's 125, Rick said, because everything's going to be 124 Comic Palooza, which we had some great stuff. We had our live show. We had Ish on us with that. We interviewed Christina. We were trying to interview Bob Layton, and Ming Chen sadly did not make it. We couldn't find Ming, and for Bob, we sincerely apologize. I'll reach out to him later today, or this week here and tell him, we just didn't have the time to stay like we wanted to, so it happens.
But you will hear Ming. He did show up at our live recording.
I am still blown away by what he said. I have never had a celebrity or anyone of that status in the podcasting world come out and literally say what he said. You guys are amazing. You're the reason why we podcast. You guys are the best I've ever heard. I'm kind of ad-libbing on the words. It was a lot longer than that. Yeah. It was a lot more nicer than that. And I was just stunned. I don't know how you felt, but I was just like, wow.
I was in awe.
I don't have nothing but great things to say about Ming Chen, Michael Zapsik, and all those guys over the Comic Book Men, which we know whatever, what's going on. Much love to those guys for the shout-outs and the support for us as much as they have. I can't tell them thank you enough.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, I'm the Mig.
I'm the Rizzo. We out.
Well, you know what, guys? That's a hell of a show. If you really like Critical Thinking Podcast, then you need to make sure you follow everybody that's involved with this. So I'm going to give you a quick heads up on who our lovable sponsors are. We are brought to you by Tokyo Munchies, located in Tokyo, Japan. We also have Japan Ramen Box, which also is in the United States. No, I'm just joking. It's in Japan. And then, of course, our big-time sponsor, Tanks Paintball. Tanks Paintball, where you can go down there and shoot Sean in the ass any freaking time you want to, and he can't do nothing but cry like a little bitch. Tanks Paintball, where you can shoot everyone in the ass, and it's perfectly legal out on Southwest Freeway, Richmond, Texas. And now, our new big time sponsor. Put your hands together for the black man out of Atlanta, Georgia. The True Showtime. The True Showtime. That's right. He is now sponsoring us. Can you believe that shit? Anyway, that's our sponsors. And if you really love listening to us, you can catch us everywhere. You can catch us on our radio stations, Beyond the Dawn Radio. You can catch us on WBLZ Media /Iconic Radio. You can catch us on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and Anchor. We're everywhere, peeps.
Thank you for joining us, thinking shit through one podcast at a time.